Hello and welcome into a special episode brought to you by NAV, or the New American Vision. And joining us today is actually a special guest, and we're going to have a great bit of stuff to get into. He's been in a couple of different viral moments over the last couple of months, I believe starting back in October, and I think it even goes back further than that. I'll turn it over to him to let him kind of give a idea of where he got his start. But before we get into everything, we could do a bit of housekeeping. Obviously, shilling for New American Vision. Obviously, subscribe if you've not subscribed already. And, follow us everywhere where you can. The second thing I would say, too, is a bit of a request, a prayer request. Please keep Zeb Boykin's son in your thoughts and prayers. He is currently hospitalized, and that is why Zeb is not joining us tonight, unfortunately. So with that, just keep that in mind. And my heart goes out to him, unfortunately, for dealing with that. And that also brings into threat too on Sunday. I'm not sure how Sunday's going to go. That's also in question right now, but we will get to that with further announcements. The guest links are in the description. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him. Adam the Angler, who are you, sir, and what do you do?
Hello. So yeah, I'm Adam the Angler. I do basically a lot of casual investigations into mostly into police corruption. I've been doing that now for a little over a year now, I want to say. And more recently have become known for Texas police, Texas DPS troopers to be exact, coming to my home over my very inflammatory and offensive anti-Zionist posts that I was making on X and continue to make to this day. And also I basically started the investigation into the Tim Pool shooting allegations that took place at his property, and kind of went a little viral on that. He responded in his live stream saying, calling me some random guy. He didn't even credit my name. So how I got my start will be the so back, when was this? Last year sometime, I was just scrolling on Facebook one day, bored, and came across a post that was showing a very official looking letter from a district attorney back where I'm from, the area that I'm from anyways, in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, claiming that there was sufficient evidence against a guy named Mark Strout, who was allegedly molested at least one girl. I had subsequently found out that it was actually two girls. They just had enough evidence to charge him with child molestation for one of the girls. Anyways, that's kind of what got me started into investigating police corruption. I believe you can probably pull up the letter that popped across my feed there that got me started into it. But I started these smaller towns, smaller areas. So when I saw the name, it immediately just, popped out to me. I saved the letter, this picture right here that you have in front of you. recognizing that it was Mr. Mark Strout. And I started, questioning my friends back home about this, because I have several hundred people that I know still back home. And come to find out, I had a mutual friend with the victims and was able to get more information. But I don't want to get too deep into it, but we can just read what it says. Is after a detailed review of the case, investigation file of Trooper Burkle concerning Mark Strout by members of my staff, my office will be recommending that the state police not charge Mr. Strout with any criminal offenses for the conduct alleged to have been committed by him. In reaching this decision, members of my staff have met with the alleged victims at that meeting, the minor children, in their mother's presence, were advised of the trial process, the legal issues relating to a prosecution of this case, and the impact the trial process could have upon them. Now, when I read that section, to me, that's just basically it almost to me sounds like they kind of bullied the victims out of pressing charges, like some kind of scare tactics or something. That's just my speculation. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true. But anyways, continuing on, it says, while sufficient evidence exists to establish cause that Mr. Strout sexually assaulted at least one of the identified victims. So I'll say that again. I'll read that one more time. That's very important, right? While sufficient evidence exists to establish probable cause that Mr. Strout sexually assaulted at least one of the identified victims, the totality of the circumstances, including review of information obtained during the meeting with the alleged victims, requires this decision. So basically what that means is they talked to the victims. The victims didn't want to proceed with a lengthy and oftentimes even more traumatizing trial process. The girls were quite young. They were under 10 years old. I don't remember their exact ages off the top of my head, but anyways, this guy is a cop. He is a cop for the Pittsfield Police in Massachusetts, and he's now a captain. This letter came out in 2005. It's when this investigation took place, and he's still a cop to this day. He's a captain. He makes $240,000 a year. His wife is chief of police in the town next to Pittsfield called Dalton, where Mark also serves as a selectman for the town. So, a lot of high-level corruption and, local high-level corruption. And anyways, that case is at a standstill today. The victims don't want to proceed with the trial process. One of the victims ended up a heroin addict, unfortunately. I am still working on trying to at least get the girl, say, upper 20s, low 30s today. So I'm still working on trying to get them to authorize a release of the investigation into this case. I've already done several FOIAs on it and have been denied at every turn. The only thing that can get me access to it is if I can get a authorization from the victims. That's just how it works with privacy laws, especially concerning sexual assault victims. So that was a big learning experience to me. Now that's led into other cases that I'm working on still. I've put out some tweets here and there about some other police corruption cases that I'm looking into, including local to me where I'm living now in Texas, where a disabled amputee was murdered, in my opinion anyways, by an officer named William Nasser. This happened in Temple, Texas. And I've still been fighting the city on releasing documents on that. So I will be doing a big expose on that in the future. But yeah, this man was overweight, sitting on a floor, unarmed, not even really aware that the cops were there, and they tased him 4 to 5 times, killing him. And the officers knew who he was. They had dealt with him in the past. He was a drug addict, unfortunately. But again, like I said, he was an amputee. He had recently lost his foot a month before the incident, still had open wounds. And then the city has just been fighting me tooth and nails. I did make a little bit of headway today, but again, like I said, there'll be a big expose on that case in the future.
Well, thank you for the introduction, man. There was a lot going on there. Yeah, right. There's a lot going on. I do want to apologize to the viewers. We got hit with something. I have no idea what was getting hit with. We were dropping frames like crazy. I've lost about 20,000 frames. Almost half of the stream so far has not even been uploaded to YouTube. So I killed the multi-stream. It's only on YouTube right now. I'm not sure what's going on. That seems to have helped a little bit. So apologize for the poor experience for the first that bit. I think I have fixed it. Again, unsure. I've never seen anything like this, but I do apologize for the technical difficulties. Also introducing Josh before we get too far into this. Josh is here with us as well.
I'm here too, by the way, guys. Excited to talk with the Adler Man.
And so, again, apologies for taking a hot minute. I had to make sure I was closing everything out that I could, figuring out where the internet's going. So right now, if you refresh and you reload, it should be up to speed. So go ahead and do that if you need to. I'm watching the green connection come back to us. I might have just been an issue on my end personally with the computer for why the multi-stream was so bad. But there's a lot there. So obviously we have your initial kind of entrance into this, the investigative kind of work, looking into police.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously all of their protective immunity qualities that go along with it that most people can't stand. And that kind of brought you to in the anti-Zionist position, or was that a position that you had always kind of had and then kind of dug into, and that brought about these kind of viral moments? Because what kind of led you down that path?
So actually, I was the kind of guy that was just a little over a year ago arguing with Groypers basically all over X, like, you know, down in the comments in the trenches. It wasn't until I saw Phil Turney's interview with Candace Owens. Phil Turney is one of the survivors of the USS Liberty attack. That really hit home to me. And I looked a little bit deeper into the Liberty incident. I had only heard of it before. It wasn't anything I really knew much about. Yeah, from even reading the official reports and then also given my experience that I was once a Navy sailor myself, you know, I can kind of read between the lines a little bit between reading official reports versus hearing eyewitness testimony from my fellow sailors, right? Yeah. And I'm always going to take now. I'll granted I'm going to have some bias in that because for me the bias isn't necessarily an anti-Zionist one. It's believing a fellow sailor over some bullshit official narrative.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, that kind of brought me into the anti-Zionist movement, I guess, as far as on social media goes, and especially on X. And I started kind of making a lot of anti-Zionist posts that just continued to escalate and become more offensive and inflammatory to where I'm at now, where I'm basically posting every meme that comes in front of me. So.
Yeah, and so I think most people might have seen the video before actually realizing it was you who was involved in it, which was, I believe it was in October of this year, was when it was the Texas, I believe the Sheriff's Department had showed up at your...
No, it was Texas DPS, which is our state police. I originally thought one of them was a sheriff, but the sheriff's office wasn't there at all. It was, they were, the two guys that were undercover were special agents under their threat to life unit. And then the other uniformed trooper that was there, he was just normal, you know, Texas DPS trooper. So,
and what was,
clear that up.
No, you're fine. What was the exact like wording, or what was the verbiage in the post that they felt warranted a visit?
So I didn't, I mean, at that point I had already made hundreds of anti-Israel posts. So I didn't know which post specifically they were talking about until just a couple days ago, really, when my FOIA request came back and I got the report, and they named two posts in particular. Now there were two posts that got mass reported to the point that I had to delete them. You know, X locked me out of my account unless I deleted the posts. But that was just what people reported me for, like mass reported me for, after the video went viral.
Interesting.
So I don't know if I sent you here, let me, just in case, I'll just send it to you real quick if you want to pull it up.
Yeah.
I already have a redacted copy.
Yes, this was,
sent me.
Let me make sure I grab the right one here.
You may already have it.
Well, this is actually the video.
Yeah, that was the day after when I went to go verify that they were even the cops, because there's been reports of people pretending to be police coming to your home just, to burglarize you.
Yeah.
But I'm sending you this just so you have it on X.
Perfect.
DMs there for you.
Yeah, I'll put the video up on screen just for a second for people to see it so they're familiar with it.
Sure.
They might just notice it just off the first couple of frames here. This one from Antunes is one of many, but the one in Antunes I think might have been the most viral there, sitting like a little over 300,000 views, and he wasn't the only person that I'd seen who had been posting it out there. But let me go to your actual post here.
Had the most viral one. I think that got almost 4 million views.
So it's this redacted post right here.
Yep, that's the report that came back to me when I FOIA'd myself. And I just got this a few days ago. So I didn't even know specifically which post it was until I saw that. Now I can confirm which post it was that set them off.
Interesting. Okay.
Like I'll just read it here because it gives a lot of context to what happened. So it says on October 29th, 2025, DPS CID, which is, I can't remember that, SA, which is special agent. CID is like crimes division or something like that. Then they have they redacted the officers' names, by the way. And I never asked for them when they were at my house. So I still don't know what their names are, but we're going to find out. Anyways, followed up on a possible implied threat that was posted on the social media platform X by Adam. I redacted my last name and my address. Then it says Adam posted, "We must eliminate the Jews. It's the only solution at this point. We must protect and save Christianity." Now that's actually amongst all of my posts. That's actually more one of my milquetoast posts. From my own subjective opinion on it, what I post. Additional posts on Adam's profile contain similar comments. If we just get rid of the Jews, us Christians can probably live in peace with the Muslims. Yeah, very threatening, right? Anyway, special agent redacted contacted Temple Police Department to inquire if Adam has history with Temple Police Department. Temple Police Department advised special agent redacted that Temple PD had a prior call with Adam where Adam was a victim of a crime. And what they're talking about there is a doxing incident that happened when I was playing World of Warships almost 2 years ago. Someone figured out my real name. I had just bought my house, so public tax records and white pages had all of my information. So guy figured out what my real name was able to get my address, sent me some very nice messages saying he was going to send pipe bombs and shit to my house, and then ended up sending a cash on delivery pizza order to my house a little after midnight for like $50, which I had to turn away. And yeah. Anyways, so that's what that was about. So Temple PD, from that incident, they know, and they have annotated that I am a swatting and a doxing risk. I told them I'm not a big name or anything, but I do have a small following. There are, I make enemies online because of how I am, with my speech. And so, just so you're aware, there could be some further swatting incidents in the future, and so that's why, they told.
So
Texas
that was
DPS.
The pretext for the visit, was because of this, you're now like an elevated risk. And that's what gave them the pretext to come and show up?
No. What gave them the pretext was the posts, which apparently were reported through a system called an anonymous reporting system called iWatch Texas. It's something that Texas DPS, I guess, started up a few years ago. So someone reported me to the police. This was a swatting, basically. But I'm just giving context of what they're talking about there, about how they contacted Temple PD before they came to my house. Temple PD told them, hey, this guy was a victim of a doxing before. He's a swatting risk. He makes posts online. He pisses people off. You know what I mean? So they were already aware that I was a swatting risk, but yet they decided to come anyways,
Interesting. Because you might be concerned that you might have been swatted again, right? Because here's more law enforcement showing up at your door.
Yeah, exactly. So Now Temple PD, when they came out before, I called them out because I was doxxed and the guy made terroristic threats to me. I'm not gonna, there's a lot. I can take a lot of things, and I'm not gonna go to crying to the cops about. But you get my real name and my address, and then you make terroristic threats, and then you also send a pizza to my house at midnight. Like, yeah, I'm gonna call the fucking cops.
Right.
I'm gonna take that shit a little bit more seriously.
This reminds me of Lucas Gage. I can't remember how long ago this was.
About him. I haven't looked into him yet.
Oh, really?
Him, so
oh, man. No, you guys would have very, very similar cases. Are you familiar with what happened with Lucas Gage? Basically, over like the last year or so, Josh?
Very vaguely.
No, Lord, excuse me. No, I haven't heard that Lucas Gage got swatted.
Really? Okay, so this is not to say like anything about pro or against Lucas Gage, but Lucas Gage was experiencing similar to what you had said with the pizza order. Was he was getting lambasted with cash payment delivery orders from like Jimmy John's and Domino's and all these other people. I mean, some of them were even coming from like 45 minutes away, almost an hour away. And he was feeling bad because it was like ruining these delivery drivers like days because he's like, I didn't order this. I'm not going to tip you. Like, you're the 8th person who's come today. And it's kind of insane because I don't even think anything came about of that too. And this kind of runs that through line as well with like people like Tim Pool himself, who we'll talk to you about in a little bit, and other people in the space too who get swatted, and it's like there's no justice there because of VPNs and all the ways they can hide it, mask it. They have AI calling AI, and then next thing you know, it's like they don't even care to trace it back or get a conviction anyways. And it's kind of sad just how lack of an ability we have or a mechanism we can to stop swatting or to stop things like that. It is unfortunate. And I think a lot of people were just terrified in general because I think yours, I can't remember if it happened before or after, but there was 2 other incidences. There was the guy who had been making the threats to Laura Loomer, Seth Dillon, Josh Hammer, and a few other individuals who he got extradited out of Texas to Florida to face charges against what he had said there. And then I think it was on the back end of what was happening was when the guy threw the penny at the Barstool Sports guy. What's his name? Dave Portnoy.
Oh, Dave Portnoy.
Dave Portnoy. So
there was like 3 events like back to back to back that all people were basically getting charges for just speech. Now, granted, in the Dave Portnoy one, you could say he threw a penny, whatever, but still, it's to show you the lengths of which they'll go to prosecute those, but the lack of lengths they'll go to prosecute, I don't know, literally anything else. And so it's pretty obvious. I think most people can kind of see that. They pick up on these kind of disparities, if you will. And it is unfortunate, though, you had to go through it. But go ahead, Josh.
Adam, is this an ongoing thing? You mentioned you had one pizza sent to your house, and then obviously we've all seen the video of of DPS showing up. Are you kind of fearful that this is going to keep happening? Is there any sign? Because I know that first video, it came out in October, I believe, right?
Yeah. Well, the doxing thing is completely unrelated to them coming to my house. It's just, that's what happened. Texas DPS, they went to Temple PD. Temple PD's like, hey, this guy was a victim of a crime, a little over a year ago where he was doxed, and he's active online. He's a swatting risk, yada, yada, yada. And and they came anyways. So, but yeah, they're 2 different things. And I haven't had any, as far as from that doxing incident, there's been little murmurs from people in the World of Warships communities that they'll message me. They'll be like, hey, how was that pizza? Stuff like that. So obviously the word went around the community that, this happened. So obviously this guy was talking to other people in the World of Warships community and they spread the story amongst the that gaming community. So, but as far as like actually having any swattings or pizzas sent to my house or anything like that, no, I haven't had any other incidents, fortunately. That surprisingly, considering what that going viral brings in a lot of the crazies. So, yeah.
Right. Well, you had said, I think I had seen a post. It was on my birthday, actually. I think you wrote it on December 16th. You wrote that you intend to sue, and I believe you intend to sue over the Temple PD involvement.
No. Just okay. It's suing I only want to sue the Texas DPS for infringing upon my First Amendment and possibly even violating my Fourth Amendment as well.
Word. So because that's what I was like most curious about was like going from we know he made this post to this gives us probable cause to show up at your home. You know, like that's the kind of connection that I'm like, and maybe that's just the way they kind of they go about it in the law, but to me that feels insane. It's like they can see something, they can get tagged, even if it's manually reported, who cares? But they see that, they go, here's what he posted. Okay, now we're gonna go show up to his door. Because to me, that's UK levels of like control on the social media and censorship, which is,
oh yeah,
even if they didn't do anything, it's just by proxy of them showing up at your door that does provide a chilling effect, which I think a lot of other people may just see that and they go, all right, I had something I was going to say, but never mind, because I don't want to have to deal with that. And so I do think you have a lot of grounds and ability to sue upon. Have you gotten like advice or any kind of, you seek legal counsel on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've sought out legal counsel. I haven't retained a lawyer just because I don't need to, because I haven't committed any crimes. I haven't been arrested or anything like that. But yeah, I do have a lawyer that I would definitely retain if they did try to come back and enact an arrest. Yeah, so that should answer that. I guess, but we should probably read the rest of this because it gives a little bit more information into it. So where were we on this thing? Temple PD advised the special agent officer. Where was I? Oh, sorry. Okay. Temple PD advised special agent that Temple PD knows Adam to be active on online social media with various opinions about officer-involved shootings in the community. Yeah, I don't know why they said shootings, because they're specifically talking about the Billy Gordon case that I'm working on, and that was a tasing. But okay. On October 29th, DPS CID Special Agent Redacted, and THP Trooper Redacted contacted Adam at his residence located at my address. DPS CID SAs were greeted Adam and identified as to why contact was made with him. Adam activated a video camera on his cell phone and informed DPS personnel that he has freedom of speech and instructed DPS personnel to leave the property. Special Agent Redacted asked Adam if he intended to harm anyone, and Adam advised the SAs to leave the property. SAs and Trooper Redacted departed the area. Special Agent Redacted returned to the DPS office and viewed Adam's X social media platform and observed a recent post that stated, "State Police and Sheriff's Office just showed up at my door." Again, I was mistaken. It wasn't Sheriff's Office. It was just Texas DPS. Just showed up at my door because of my comments about Israel. Now I'm completely convinced they control our government. America is compromised. Footage coming soon. So that was before I even made the post, with the viral post, the one with the video.
Yeah.
Special Agent Redacted contacted the Bell County District Attorney's Office and asked for the DA office's opinion on the situation. After Special Agent Redacted provided the DA's office with the information and posts made by Adam, the Bell County DA's office reviewed the information provided by Special Agent Redacted and advised Special Agent Redacted that Adam has not committed a crime. Special Agent Redacted believes, based on the totality of the circumstances, that Adam did not directly threaten a specific person, location, or entity in the social media posts, and that Adam is not a direct threat to the public at this time, based on Adam's social media posts and actions. So the reading that last part there about Bell County District Attorney's involvement in this. So they went to, before they came to my house, they went to Temple PD. Temple PD says, "Hey, yeah, this guy makes a lot of online posts about various things. He's a swatting risk. He was doxxed. He was a victim of a crime." So they already had this knowledge that I'm a swatting risk. Then they're going off this anonymous report that they have. So it should have already been kind of clicking in their minds that, oh, hey, this is just some swatting incident, right? They should have just called me.
Yeah.
Why come to my house looking the way that you do? You know what I mean? And triggering my PTSD. You know, like, I'm very transparent online. Like, I'm a disabled Navy veteran. I have PTSD. I live off my disability. I have my own little passion projects of investigating local level police corruption.
So Adam,
and then they don't go to see the district attorney until after they come to my house. You know what I mean? They should have done that before.
Yeah.
So that's my complaints with the whole
Go ahead,
thing.
Josh.
Yeah.
well, I was just going to ask, because obviously I forget the young man's name, but the young man who was extradited from Texas to Florida for comments he made specifically towards Josh Hammer, Laura Loomer, Ben Shapiro, etc. You said earlier that this post that they mentioned in this statement or FOIA request, this is the reason they came to your house. I assume you had not. You said you want to eliminate, or we should eliminate the Jews. I assume in all other posts you did not get specific.
Yeah, no, I mean,
right. Okay.
I mean, I've probably said the word kill, and actually, I know I have. That's why I was saying that these were more milquetoast than other posts.
Mhm.
Like, I've straight up said we should nuke Israel. You know what I mean? Obviously, those aren't real threats because I have no capability of nuking Israel.
Right.
Unless we can convince our president to do so, which has never happened. So, yeah, I don't know. I've heard about that other guy you're talking about that was extradited from Texas over to Florida.
Yeah.
I don't remember the specifics because all these incidents all happened within the same time frame.
Yeah, it was all like in a short succession, like back to back to back. I think most people picked up on the guy who got extradited because I think his was the one that landed the longest conviction, if I'm not mistaken. But I think his was a bit more actionable because it was everything that it has on that last line down there, like specific person. I don't know if it had location, but it was a lot more directed and specific. And again, I'm not sure how much ability to carry out plays a role into it either. That'd be something I'd be curious about, actually.
That's part of the 3-pronged test with Brandenburg versus Ohio. It's a case law, and it's oftentimes brought up in these kinds of cases where it's really the only place where your speech does have its limits. And one of those prongs is the capability to carry out the threat. Like, you can make threats, but if you lack the capability of enacting that threat, then it's not illegal. You can say that.
Interesting. So like if a child threatened like a 40-year-old man, it's like, okay, well, clearly the kid can't do nothing to you. Okay. That makes sense there.
Yeah, exactly. I also wanted to point out that those specific posts, when I kind of started ramping it up to being more offensive and inflammatory, was in direct response to what Josh Hammer had said when he called to neutralize Tucker Carlson. Because he did that, and people threw a shit fit online, but cops didn't show up to his house. You know what I mean? And he's got a significantly larger audience than I did at that time anyways. I only had about 500 to 600 followers at that time. Now I have significantly more because of that virality.
Well, his was very specific. His was neutralizing a fox in a hen house, in which, like, I think Alex Jones quickly pointed out, like, there's literally only one way that you do that, which is you would shoot the fox. It's like, it was very, very easy to kind of draw those connections, but you're right. I mean, Josh Hammer, did the police show up to his place? Is that an actionable threat? Does he have the stochastic terrorism, right? Would they not have a larger audience that may potentially enact on the words that he has said? But that's the disparity that people see, which is they'll go after you over a lot more, broader and more vague post. But when Josh Hammer is directly like landing a threat after a specific event has taken place over a specific person, nothing. Silence, radio silence. And even right now today, I'd even forgot that you saying that now, I'd even forgot that it happened until like just now. And it's like, that's shows the level of which they refuse to even enact the equal level of justice across the playing field. And I think that plays into where we are today. The Epstein files, Israel, obviously the narrative just going around between what happened to Charlie Kirk. It's becoming more and more, you can't hide from it. The issue of Israel and foreign involvement, the entanglement, the ethnicity, the race relations of Jewish people, all of it being connected, all of it being at the forefront of what American politics is right now. And I think it's kind of a good spot because we do need to expose a lot of this stuff. It's probably a good point, though, to move over to the second video that had kind of went viral for you, which was your call-in to confirm the validity of the allegations made by Tim Pool that his residence was shot up. And so I'll just turn it to you and let you explain that and what kind of was going through your head when you had made that call, or why you wanted to prove the validity of that call.
Well, I was a fan of Tim Pool's for a long time, like many years, probably since before the 2020 election, I want to say. So I had only like recently stopped being a fan of his, mostly over for me anyways. Like I was already kind of like not really watching him as much when this happened, but when the Carmelo Anthony, allegedly murdered. I'm saying allegedly just because I don't want to get sued, and the case hasn't finished. But when Carmelo Anthony allegedly murdered Austin Metcalf here in Texas, he said basically the way that he said it was he said something like, "Oh, are we not okay with self-defense now?" And it's like, brother, what? Like you would stab someone in the heart just for touching you? Is that the kind of psychopath you are? Like that was the way I looked at that, and I just completely stopped being a fan of his. But then also there was that alleged shooting where he said he found like a 9mm round in his kitchen sill or something like that. That happened like a couple years ago.
That was the one that Candace referenced, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And he never produced any evidence of that ever happening, right? He just said it right after his numbers were tanking. And so to me, it just seems suspicious that he was lying in order to regarner relevance, because his stats are just completely crashing again, right? But now I'm biased, but I'm not biased because I'm willing to accept that, the fact that, yeah, he's a large influencer and he's definitely pissing off a lot of people, especially, the Groypers and the Candace fans and your Tucker fans. So I understand that he's a risk of being swatted. I mean, I was doxxed myself, and obviously I was swatted again recently with Texas DPS coming to my house. So I understand that, like, yeah, there are risks, but it just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me. So I was like, you know what? I've already gotten used to like contacting police departments and putting in FOIA requests and whatnot. So let me just call them and see if I can verify the shooting. Because you can do that. When there's like an alleged shooting that takes place, you as a member of the public can just call a police department to verify if a shooting had occurred. That's just a matter of public necessity, like need to know, basically.
Right. And you bring up some good points there too, which is, preceding this as well, was obviously the views were falling off. I think most people at this recent period, last couple of months, a lot of people have been moving away from Tim Pool and others and going to Candace Owens just because they felt like Tim Pool and others, like namely Jack Posobiec and all those who are close to the TPUSA wing, the kind of MAGA crowd, were being disingenuous or at least being intellectually dishonest about recent events. And so I think a lot of people were moving to Candace. And you heard that rant from Tim Pool, right? He was screaming about it. I wish I could be, how did he phrase it? Something along the lines of like, I wish I could be content with being evil because then I could get all the clicks and views. And he was kind of pushing it against, Candace being this evil person just for clicks and views. But what was wild about it was the shooting that you're talking about, I believe that took place in 2022. The same thing, the same series of events had led up to that, which was just prior to that shooting event, he had been complaining about his viewership numbers tanking. And I'm not sure if he had directed it specifically to anybody, but people kind of saw that and they're like, is this the same thing? And so then that kind of brings into question, like, is he just doing this to bring the attention back onto him? Did this even really happen? And so I think that's probably what's going through a lot of people's minds and probably what led you to make that call.
Yeah, 100%. Now, granted, the first video that I did, the first call, I called 5 different departments throughout my investigating this thing, right? I started with Harpers Ferry Police. Harpers Ferry Police directed me to call Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. So I called Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Now that night that went viral like immediately because a bunch of like larger influencers started putting it out there. Some just did their own edit of it to make it more condensed and put it out there. And it just went pretty viral. People that night I joined, I want to say it was probably Diligent Denizens space on X later that night. Okay. And someone was like, hey, you may have the wrong place. Because you could have been calling where his old studio was. So you should try calling Berkeley County Sheriff's Office in the morning. And I was like, absolutely, I will do that. I'll call them in the morning because I do have an address for him in Berkeley County as well. I just had asked around before I'd even called Jefferson County. Excuse me. I had already asked around, and people had said that his new studio was in Jefferson. His old one, they just had it reversed. So anyways, yeah, the next morning I called Berkeley County Sheriff's Office. That one ended up really weird. They initially said they can't give me any information. And then they were like, all right, let me transfer you to someone that you can talk to. And then it just stopped ringing and it just went blank. I said hello because I thought maybe someone picked up, and then the call just hung up. I was like, okay, that's weird. So I called them back, and it just rang and rang and rang and rang until I got a busy signal that they didn't answer when I called them back for whatever reason. But yet, and then I put that out. I immediately posted that, did not gain the same kind of virality. And then like an hour later, Cam Higby puts his video out allegedly calling Berkeley County, because he's still to this day, I don't think he's verified that it was Berkeley County that he called. He also didn't show his phone logs because Diligent Denizen was like, let me see your phone calls, because a lot of people think this is fake. And I'm like, okay, yeah, here. I took a screenshot. I uploaded my phone calls. He could see that I called Harpers Ferry PD. I called Jefferson County. I called Berkeley County. I called West Virginia State Police. And I even called the Pittsburgh FBI field office, which is Pittsburgh field office. I know it's in Pennsylvania. It covers all of West Virginia, that field office, which, by the way, FBI never called me back. And when I called the West Virginia State Police, their systems were down, so they weren't able to tell me one way or another.
Interesting.
But I put all of those out. I was very transparent with like this multi-day investigation. And then when Cam put his video out, he didn't even say what county it was, didn't produce his phone logs or anything like I did. So it was just like, who did you call, dude? No one, like,
right.
It seems like an act or something. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, go ahead,
Adam,
yeah.
You mentioned at the beginning of the show some of the stuff that got you involved in this independent journalism, namely a police commissioner or a police chief or captain up in Massachusetts, who had sexually assaulted somebody. I understand why, his wife being in a high position as well, a kind of cover-up going on, cops taking care of cops. I would think that with the Tim Pool thing, maybe I'm not thinking it all the way through here, but like I would think they wouldn't have an interest in covering it up, because of course I saw the original thing where you called, I forget which department it was, but you called, they said they had no record of anyone by that name and blah, blah, blah. And you just recently went through all the follow-up. Is there any semblance that you might make more headway on this? Are you hopeful that you'll actually get a solid answer from these people? And why do you think that you haven't got it yet? Like, is there a cover-up going on?
No, I don't think there's a cover-up. I don't know if you've seen, but there was a public statement that was put out by Berkeley County Sheriff's Office. They were saying that due to the now multiple requests that they were getting, they were just going to make a public statement about it. The public statement more or less says that Tim was lying. Because have you seen it? Have either of you guys seen that public statement?
Yeah, I believe the public statement said that Tim Pool himself did not provide security footage, so then the department could not substantiate his claims either. I believe that was, and then his reasoning for that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, was that he didn't want to let people know where his cameras were positioned.
Yeah.
So,
and then he's further said he doesn't want to dox himself because, well, I don't know if he said that, but I definitely saw a lot of his fans saying this, that he didn't want to dox himself because of being FOIA'd. There's a problem with that. First of all, they won't give you shit until after the investigation is done. It's very hard to get something from them, from any police department, during an active investigation.
Yeah.
And even then, it would have been, if they did release his footage through FOIA, if the police department did through FOIA, it would be heavily redacted as to not dox him. You know what I mean? Because there are privacy laws that protect. That's why a lot of, if you ever watch body cam on YouTube or whatever, there's a lot of blurring and heavy redactions sometimes, and it's not necessarily the creator that did that, but a lot of times it was the department that did that to comply with privacy laws. So that argument holds no weight, because he, especially being a larger influencer, they could have completely marked that for, non-release, and his footage never have been able to be FOIA'd in the first place. So
is it then?
Well, and
now-
even on its face, from like a normie standpoint, it's like, what, dude, you can't afford to just move some cameras around.
yeah, that too.
Right. So is it then? Is it your
Um,
position that you think that this was a just stunt, like a stunt for attention?
I have a lot of different opinions as to what it can be. I haven't seen enough yet to like make a very verifiable claim. Now I'll troll in Tim's comments and stuff and just say he's straight up lying or whatever, but I'm just trolling him. But now I did put in my own FOIA request though, just to see if they would give me something more. I can send it to you, but it's not saying much. However, actually, you know what? I am going to send this to you because it is a little bit revealing. If I can freaking find it.
Oh, you're
Where
good.
did I put it?
And I do have the Cam Higby one too, ready to go as well. Because I wanted to play that so people can see what we're talking about. Because that one, when Cam Higby released his, it wasn't assuring, to say the least, because everything's literally redacted out of it. It looks like the Epstein files.
Yeah, you can go ahead and play that if you want right now while
you're looking for that one.
Find my FOIA request.
Yeah, so let me get this pulled up here. This was the follow up, and you said it was like an hour after you had posted yours. I actually didn't see it until much later than that. But here it is. I'll pull it up for everybody to see. It's about a minute and a half long, and you'll just hear. Obviously, they redact certain things, but this was not too, again, assuring to anybody who was in disbelief already. But here it is.
Sheriff's office. Sorry, I got tongue-tied. Sheriff's office.
No worries. Hi, this is Cameron Higby. I just wanted to call and verify receipt of a report that should have been filed with you guys, or an incident.
Okay. Do you have the incident number?
No, I have the name of the person and the incident. So there was a shooting in Tim Pool's compound, and I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of that. It would have been last night, so it would have been the night of 12/5. It might have been reported the following morning.
Thank you for holding. I'm so sorry.
Yep, no worries. That's totally okay.
Yeah, we just got bombarded with an issue here, so.
I totally get it. No, you guys have more important things to do, I'm sure.
Okay, so it says here it was a third-party caller that called it in.
Okay, and what road did you say that was?
Oh.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Just want to check if that would be the right road. So it's a third-party caller, and was it that incident I described where somebody drove up and kind of just shot at the place?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. Well, I'm glad that's on your guys' radar, and that was in, right?
Yes, sir.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you so much for verifying.
So that was what I had seen. I think I literally even saw it like a day after I had seen yours, and obviously not reassuring by any large margin at all. Everything's redacted. It's censoring all the parts that would reveal, which sheriff's office is even calling, the location, and partly I understand, obviously, not to dox for specific reasons, obviously being a public figure with a big profile. But back to the statement that you had brought up. Inside the statement, not only do they mention how they did not get any camera footage to substantiate the claims, they also don't even call it gunshots in the statement. They literally say loud bangs. So that to me almost reads as if they basically just took the testimony of who called it in and then reformatted it out, saying like they didn't expand upon anything beyond what was initially claimed. And so that kind of leaves us in this spot where we're still like, so is it real or not? And I guess at this point, I guess the weight of it, of what it really matters is it's maybe this is a look inside of who Tim Pool is, and maybe if it is fake, does this kind of say anything about who Tim is? I think obviously. But in your opinion, I guess, do you think this is a lot more widespread? Is this just unique to Tim Pool, or do you think these kind of stunts are done more often than we may realize?
Yeah, I think it does happen probably more often than we realize. I mean, there's a lot of times I think where people will lie, you know, for one reason or another, especially when it regards legal things, you know.
Right.
Now I just sent you that I said, like I said, I FOIA'd Berkeley County. Yeah, if you want to pull that up, this is what I just recently got back from them like 2 days ago in my email. It's a little bit more telling because near the end there, where is it? They say. Now they say it's an active investigation. I understood that. I had a feeling that was what I was going to get back. But then they said the requested information should be provided by the state during the discovery phase of your criminal case. I would encourage you to request the documents from the prosecuting attorney's office during an upcoming hearing. And then at the end there, they say, we therefore consider this matter to be at an end until the conclusion of the ongoing court processes. So are they saying that they arrested someone? Someone's been charged? That's what I'm wondering, but it's very vague. But they're talking about contacting the prosecuting attorney's office, which would be the DA, and they're talking about discovery phase of a criminal case, and they're talking about ongoing court processes, unless this was just some copy and paste thing that they gave me.
I was gonna say that this sounds like, you know, they just, okay, I gotta respond to this guy. Here you go. Yeah. Like it doesn't sound anything like what you're dealing with, like what you're investigating, the Tim Pool incident.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. Just from the language, and maybe that is exactly what it is, right? And it could be an active investigation in like the loosest sense possible, which is because of all the reports they got in on it, it's just open. You know, just open, waiting to be closed, just because so many people keep calling in. It's just maybe by that proxy because they just have the case file opened on it. It's an active investigation. But it is curious, though, the upcoming hearing, I feel like that puts it a bit more in stone that maybe they are going to prosecute somebody. But regardless, though, it's this is kind of, you know, to me, an example of the zero trust society, which I think I'd even said back to you in one of the initial messages when we were DMing each other. And that's what it kind of feels like, which is, I really can't remember a time prior to this year that I would imagine that people would be calling in to verify. Like, say, for example, let's pick someone that's not going to be crazy. Like, say, like PewDiePie or Mr. Beast, or, you know, insert any kind of random, like, larger public, you know, figure. You know, they call and they say, hey, you know, like this happened, like there's a shooting at my place, whatever. I feel like prior to this year, and even maybe a few years prior, people wouldn't have felt a need to verify that it was real or not. But I feel like nowadays, and especially in the political environment, because it's not even just low trust, it's zero trust, that people don't believe anything. And hence why I think that you called, because nobody believes anything. And even right now, after all the digging, it still feels like nobody has anything substantial to believe in. And so now as we're kind of back to our initial hunches, and I think that kind of is describing and precluding where we're heading right now in terms of everything, which is nobody trusts anybody. So I'm kind of curious, in your opinion, like, where do you think this goes? I mean, if nobody trusts anybody and every claim is kind of getting cross-examined to this degree, where I think, you know, how do people kind of interact with that or engage with it without getting, you know, cognitive dissonance?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even trust my own police now. You know what I mean? If something bad were to happen here, I don't even know if, you know, like if I got doxxed again and threatened, I don't even know if I would bother even calling my police, you know, which also could be kind of telling, you know, as far as like the devil's advocate argument for Tim Pool. Maybe he does it. Maybe he feels that way. He feels like he can't even trust his own police, and that's why he didn't give them the footage.
Yeah, that is true.
I don't know, man. I don't really know. It's kind of a heavy question.
I know, right? And it's something that I've been pondering too. Most specifically, just in the light of the Epstein files, specifically, along with a lot of other stuff as well too. Which is the question I typically pose to people: is what could the government do to win back your trust? And I think most people are like, nothing. there's nothing
Be
the
a
government
different
can do.
government.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of where it's pushing, which is like maybe a whole brand new one and we'll start all over again. Right. And that seems to be where we're heading. I didn't realize we've already gone an hour. I only have about 30 minutes left I can spare before I have to go. So I kind of want to cover both the ballistics, obviously the Charlie Kirk narrative as well too. And then we can maybe touch on the Epstein files a little bit as well. So I guess I'll just open it up with your thoughts on what is going on, because you did a bit of ballistics testing as well, and you did it a bit further range than most people have been doing so far. But I guess we'll open up and I'll throw it back to you. Where are you with this whole kind of narrative? What is going on? What do you think about Candace Owens, if you're going to give a broad take from that?
So I've kind of like become like more Team Candace lately, and Team Tucker as well. But now I don't always agree with Candace. I do think some of her theories, especially when she first started trying to investigate Charlie Kirk's murder back in September, I thought some of her theories were a little out there, but I appreciated her willingness to think outside the box and to ask questions and to encourage people to send her tips. No one else is trying to dig into this as hard as she is, you know, from my perspective anyways. Well, we also have Ian Carroll as well. He's actually doing a lot of digging himself. And so, I mean, me personally, I mean, things are changing so fast. I mean, now there's more recently, they're saying that it was well, Candace is saying it was a frangible round. Yeah, I mean, maybe it would be able to do what we saw, you know, because we all saw the shot, you know, I think, you know, I imagine, you know, you can find it completely uncensored out there for viewers that haven't seen it. But
Right.
To me, I mean, now I was a gunner's mate in the Navy. I know a little bit about ballistics. You know, you have to take, especially in the Navy, you have to take a ballistics course because we deal with a lot more longer range shooting, like our 5-inch gun that can shoot like almost 20 miles out, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot more involved with doing those ballistics. Now, the computer just does it for you on the ship, but you still have to learn the trig formulas, and you have to show that you at least understand it when you're in school. I just ask Rock if I need help, you know, if I need the formula done for me, I'll just have Rock do it for me. But yeah, when I saw that, I was like, there's just no way that's a 30 cal round. You know, I mean, it's just like, I knew what it should look like from a 30 cal round. And with what we saw, that was just not a 30 cal round. Now, I had a theory that the best possibility is that it's a low velocity and a lightweight projectile, right? Low velocity would mean there's less gunpowder charge in the cartridge, and lightweight round would be the actual round itself, the projectile on the end. For those that don't understand, just to kind of put it into some layman terms there.
Yeah.
So I shot in my own test, I used a 125 grain projectile, and it was a hollow point at that. Hollow points are designed to fragment and break apart and not overpenetrate your target. They're meant for soft body targets, right? And I specifically used a low velocity round because I'm like, okay, well, if it's Grandpa's gun and he taught Tyler how to use this, because Tyler's only in his low 20s or something like that, early 20s, something like that.
Yeah,
so
like
21.
Oh, wow. Okay.
21. Yeah. So it stands to reason that if his grandpa was teaching him on this gun, that maybe he specifically used low velocity ammo, you know, I mean, Tyler's a pretty scrawny guy to begin with, you know, so I imagine when he was younger as a child, he, you know, is even scrawnier, and giving him a low velocity, lower recoiling cartridge would be the way to train someone and teach someone that's younger on a rifle. So that I was thinking that's like the best possibility that we have before, you know, because I did my own test like a week ago.
Yeah.
And so I shot at 100 yards. I could stretch it out to another 40 yards. It's not going to make any difference. I'm going to get the same results. It's going to blow the meat and bone all apart. And yeah, so I shot at 100 yards, 125 grain ammo, which is the weight, and low velocity cartridge, you know, just lower gunpowder charge. And it just exploded the meat and it penetrated all the way through. I took the meat home later. One of them had some dirt in it and stuff, but you could clearly see that it was cavitied all the way through. And I tested 2 different kinds of ham. I tested a raw piece of ham with bone in the middle. It was like a shoulder butt or something like that, like 10 or 15 pounds of meat. And I kept it contained in the plastic wrapping on purpose because, I mean, we have skin, right? So let's see what happens when you have some kind of a small layer as well. And yeah, it exploded. It literally the whole meat just exploded. It penetrated all the way through. I found 1 or 2 very, very, very small fragments. Otherwise, the majority of the round made it through. And these were very thick pieces of ham.
Yeah, the one that goes for Thanksgiving.
Ham. Yeah, exactly. It's something you're cooking for the whole family of like 10, 15, or however many you're having over. And I did 2 tests. I did it on cooked ham and I did it on the uncooked. And either way, it just exploded and went all the way through. And I found like 1 or 2 very, very small fragments. So
where do you said,
right.
Where do you stand on the motive side of the Charlie Kirk debacle? I mean, I've seen the video. I know your ballistics argument. And you said you lean towards more the Candace Ian Carroll camp. Who is your kind of number 1 culprit at this time? I would assume Israel, but I want to verify.
Well, what I believe is, I believe that Israel had a part in it and a hand in it, yes. But not directly responsible because that's how spy agencies work, right? I'm not some Mossad expert or anything like that, but I personally believe Mossad was probably in those Discord channels encouraging things, right? If I was never in the CIA or anything like that. I was just a lowly gunner's mate in the Navy, but I imagine that's how our CIA works. If they want to get other people to fight for us, like especially over in the Middle East when we were originally training the Taliban, right? You have to nudge them in that direction with just propagandizing their brain, over and over and over again. So I imagine there could have been 1 or 2 people that were in those Discords with them in their gaming Discords, trying to nudge them towards this direction of doing something. And I think they were probably also just surveilling it with the whole, was it like 11 or 12 Israeli cell phones that were in the area. But I don't believe Tyler. I still need some more information, but if Tyler Robinson was on that roof with that 30-06, I don't believe he was the one that actually took the shot, because I just don't see in any world a 30-06 not literally blowing his head off, or, blowing his neck to shreds, with a full metal jacket round with a hollow point. Frangible round, I don't really know too much about. I never personally used them when I was in the service. We actually, in the Navy, we use usually armor piercing.
What is that? I'm not sure what that means. Frangible.
So frangible round is like a weaker hollow point, basically. Instead of having a lead filling, it would be some kind of like a like jacketed, some kind of like a powdered metal or something like that. Like I said, I'm not very fluent on the frangible rounds. I just understand that they're meant to not over penetrate. They're meant to, like, as soon as they touch basically anything, they just kind of, fragment into like a million pieces, basically, like a more dramatic hollow point, basically.
Gotcha.
And you also have, I believe, there's also the idea or theories as well that like the round could be significantly older than what most people are expecting it could be, depending on like where he got it from, the source of it too. And I think the other thing too is like the rifle that was in the New York Post photo is like wasn't even the actual rifle, and so I don't think the public's even seen the rifle supposedly it's supposed to be being used. I know that was Ian Carroll.
That's not the actual rifle?
Yeah, the one that's photographed in the New York Post is not the rifle.
Where it's like where it's in
the cardboard box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the rifle. Real? New York Post came out, it was like a day later.
How do you know that?
Yeah, so this is like how crazy that this has been moving. I think it was literally like a day later. It was the New York Post that issued the correction. This is one thing I learned from Ian Carroll. So the photo, so that's what's like all kind of confusing here is like there's all these things that don't attach themselves to each other. But I do think the motive thing is obviously one of the bigger ones when you're trying to describe or subscribe who may have been involved in this too. But getting closer to maybe more specific stuff, I do lean towards, like in this recent development, right, which is basically Candace Owens backing away from the TPUSA allegations and making and kind of rounding out to being just generally skeptic that it's Tyler Robinson's involvement. And so I do believe, I think Nick Fuentes had put this out too, but I do believe more so with the involvement of the lawyers, it does come across to me as if they probably did threaten her, whether it was direct or indirectly, with defamation. I'd imagine they probably showed documents or materials about Andrew Colvett and Tyler Bauer, which is probably why she may be backing away from those. But what the through line is there is she's maintaining the skepticism over Tyler Robinson, which I think was also the admission that Erica Kirk has not seen any other footage that's not already been in the public eye, which actually goes against claims made by, I believe, Jack Posobiec and somebody else had mentioned that they had seen this special footage that nobody else had seen. But if Erica Kirk's not seen it, then it also prescribes that Jack Posobiec definitely hasn't seen it.
Well, Jack Posobiec is definitely lying anyways. He's already been caught a couple times lying. I've seen on X, and yeah, I've had my own beef with Jack for a while. He's got me blocked on X. So,
dude, he's one of the worst ones out there, especially with like the transparency and the pro MAGA stuff too.
There's definitely more footage though, because we know there was that camera behind him when the camera they went and got that footage from. So exactly, no one has seen that. I haven't seen the from behind footage. So
right, and that's kind of that's the point that Candace Owens is bringing up, which is there is now, like with the probable cause hearing that's going to be happening, I believe on May 26th, that's how most cases are treated. If they do have footage that's definitely going to be getting used in the trial, they're not going to release that to the public. And that's kind of like how these things typically go. They keep close to their hand the evidence that they have. And this is part of the reason why you're seeing the gag orders going up to like thousands of people, because there already is a strong fear from the prosecution that he's going to get off on a mistrial. I think I've spent a decent amount of length explaining that one out, but obviously the fear that how are you going to find a jury pool of people who haven't seen coverage over this case right now, given the nature of how explosive it's been. And to that end, my prediction is I just think by proxy of that, Tyler Robinson may get a mistrial. So I'm leaning towards my prediction being they're going to find him not guilty, unfortunately. And I think it'll just end at that. And I think that ultimately cause even more chaos as you get a not guilty verdict. Nobody feels like they still know the truth. And then it's very similar to the Epstein files, is no one's satisfied with what the consequence or what we get, the end result of that. And I think I want to spend some time moving over to that with the Epstein files in particular, because we are short on time.
Yeah, I just wanted to cap off, though, with saying that I think right now my current opinion is that Lance Twiggs was also involved, and that's why he's missing. And I believe that Charlie was probably shot with a 22, like either a 22 long rifle, actually probably more like a 22 Magnum, or a 223 5.56. That's what the wounding was more indicative of. I think it's very possible they were both there. And the whole messaging they were doing to each other afterwards was just a way of like, I mean, these people are kind of stupid, I'm imagining, and they're incompetent, and they're just trying to like mislead the police or something because they know they're going to be, their messages are going to be seen.
Right. A little Clyde and Clyde situation.
Yeah, that's what I think was going on.
Interesting.
But we need to, that's just my current working theory. We need to see more information. They haven't even released pictures of the cartridges. That could really completely settle it for me, or make me further not believe it. So,
well, yeah, and one of the other things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way was all of the talk about like the C2, like the spine damage. And when I'd actually sat down to actually start exploring these claims, right? Because I wanted to know, like, so where's the medical report that says the C2 that talks about the damage? And there is none. And so then I was like, so where are all these claims then coming from Ian Carroll and Valhalla VFT about the C2? They're doing the chart with the, with the protractor showing the angle, and it's all hearsay. It's all off the back of Officer, I call him Talmud, but Officer Tatum. It's off the back of Stephen Gardner and Brian Harpole. So there's like three guys who said that they saw the report. So it's the words of someone who saw a report and then being expanded upon. So to that end, I do think there's been a lot that's probably been explored that might not even be realistic or isn't even real. And I think even Candace Owens had explored that a little bit with Andrew Colvett, kind of nailing down like here's like what really should have been said about the report. It wasn't actually this, and she kind of like was walking back a little bit of that. Because I do think when you see some of those charts of the C2, it really begins to not make much sense, right? The C2 being like literally just under like the Adam's apple. Yeah, right. It's like,
Yeah.
And you would have had to have shot through the teeth, and so that doesn't make any sense. But then when I dug into where are they getting that from, I'm like, oh well, it's just a bunch of BS. Like I wouldn't trust Officer Tatum as far as I could throw him, which wouldn't be that far, believe it or not.
You know, last week, Atlas, when we were talking about this, and you had basically said as much that you thought Tyler Robinson was going to get off. I said to you, I was like, you know, I doubt it. They need heads to roll in this case. But honestly, with the amount of like time that's gone by, and like Jack Posobiec, Officer Tatum being out there just making shit up, it's honestly, I think your theory holds weight.
Well, and I think this will ultimately become what the pretext is for censorship on Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. As much as like I don't care for them. I like how they're good consequences and what they can bring about. But they're going to lay that at the feet of Candace Owens. They're going to say, because of the way that you covered this case, that's the reason why we didn't get a guilty charge on Tyler Robinson. And they're going to further drive the needle and the wedge between like establishment Republicans and just literally everybody else on the right wing. And that's kind of my fear is they'll use that pretext. Barry Weiss has already publicly said as much. She said literally verbatim that we do need to tamp down on these conspiracy theories on YouTube and such. Then I do fear that may be the actual goal they wanted, which was to get people so convinced that there is such a level of misinformation that there need to be some level of censorship mechanisms. And then they're going to aim those cannons at Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, which I think actually is like the worst result we could get about this is these, more restrictions to free speech. And
they're doing the same thing the Democrats did. That's where they're heading.
Right. And so that kind of bringing everything all to a head is where we are right now today, which is the Epstein files. And if you're not retarded, you know that the Epstein files are linked to Mossad, and Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence asset. And this has been covered and explored and documented and talked about for the better part of like almost 20 years now at this point. And what we got today was they were supposed to honor the deadline that was pushed by Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. And that deadline was the full release of the Epstein files today, with the only retractions being allowed to be about those victims and things related to CASM. What we got is not that. And right now, the Trump administration, and I would largely say Pam Bondi and the AG and the deputy AGs, are all in violation of federal law. And so if they do not release the full trove of documents by 11:59 without the proper actual restrictions on what can be redacted, people are going to be calling for the impeachments. I mean, they already are, for Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Donald Trump, and many others. And we are now arriving to this point where I think it could not be ignored that there is something that's being protected inside of these documents. Now, I would arrive at the position that what's being protected would threaten national security, because what most people probably don't know or realize, or if they probably already do, the Trump administration is the Epstein list, or is a portion of the Epstein list. The people in the government are the Epstein list. And this is why we are in this struggle, or where, between a rock and a hard place where, yes, we'll release it, and then it comes time to release it, and we don't get what we want. And so bringing it all to a head in a zero trust society, everyone kind of is realizing that we are owned and operated by foreign interests and child abusers. This is not a good position to be in for the country, especially on the back of pending big losses in the midterms to the Democrats, and what direction that may take the whole country to.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are in a very chaotic position in America, and I think we are in a point in time where there will be some strong redefining elements. And so I guess I'll turn it back over to both of you guys. With the Epstein files not getting released, with it obviously being protected again for what feels like the 10th time by the Trump administration, where do you think we go from here?
Yeah, I think we're gonna, I feel like the Zionist Republicans are gonna keep going down the path that they're gonna go, and I think there's gonna eventually be a revolution. I think we're already in a civil cold war. I think it's gonna become a hot war at some point. Something's gonna happen. There's gonna be another incident, because incidents like with what happened with me and with what happened to the other two that we were discussing around the time of what happened to me, it's going to happen again. And that's all it's going to, we're on a thread. from hitting, from becoming revolutionists. Right. I think, in my opinion, it doesn't take long for society to break down. I seen that firsthand when I deployed to Haiti during the earthquake. It was like, we got there just a few days after the earthquake for humanitarian aid, and I went ashore almost every day on the landing craft. And it was only about a week or two after when they started rioting and they were looting, and some of them had guns. It was a lot worse than what the news portrayed it to be, because we could go on the ship in the afternoon and watch the news, and the news was very fluff piece about it. Not with what it was really like on the ground there. So it doesn't take long for society to break down, especially when you lose more and more and more trust.
Right.
And more incidents happen.
So. In regards to the Epstein files, what's got me thinking now after seeing some of those pictures today is it's like, we think that Mossad, okay, we found their blackmail operation, and now they're like, humbug, they got away with it. I'm more concerned about now at times, like the new Epstein that we don't know about yet. Because what do we expect? They just stopped gathering intelligence and blackmail on up and coming individuals. Who knows what they have on Vance. So that's just one thought. But also I hate to say that it'll escalate to a hot war. I do think that, as Nick Fuentes says, I think there is a non-violent solution to this. But what it is going to take is guys like us. It's going to take people with long memories. And I think, this is something we talk about all the time. It doesn't take everybody to succeed. And understanding that the masses are the masses and they're just not going to pay attention to these things, it's important. But it will resonate. And Epstein has a special place in the minds of your average person because just the egregious nature of what it might be, of what it almost certainly is, but also what it implies. The most charitable interpretation of what happened there is they were having sex with 14-year-old girls. The worst being like satanic blood jacuzzis in the basement or something like that. And what's interesting about it is the guy who ran on getting them out is now playing defense, is now making sure that they don't get out. And that will resonate in people's minds. And hopefully that will kind of cascade into candidates in the future being effective.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
When I was thinking about this, I was actually having funny enough, I had a dinner conversation with two individuals who are very politically inclined, and I won't reveal their name because I don't want to bring any harm to them at all. But they were older, and one of them is actually from Poland, and they are, funny enough, had I actually listened to him, I would have got red pilled on Israel a lot earlier than what I was. But they pointed me into a few different directions, and we were having this conversation, and it was through this conversation that when we were talking about the Epstein files, and what can't be missed is, like, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, this whole presentation from Trump to, like, the world Jewry, whatever the hell it was. And he's like, I'm a Jewish president. He's like, he's just glazing Israel left and right. Mark Levin's like manhandling him, like, man, aren't you my good Jewish boy? He's like patting his yarmulke. And then what we have then today is what we get with the Epstein files, and these things obviously being linked together. But I do think it's closer to the French Revolution when I think about the vibe, the contempt, the feeling, all of the energy. And in there, it's a false quote, because I don't know if we have evidence that Queen Marie Antoinette ever said it, but let them eat cake. And not that anybody in the administration said let them eat cake, but there was inside of there, similar to let them eat cake, this admission that let them eat cake. The people are like, cake? You have cake? It was an admission that, like, here, we have these luxury goods. You poor people don't even have bread. They heard that and they made the obvious assumptions there. The same way I think with the Epstein files, the way it's been treated is, especially by the podcaster network that's largely taken office, Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, it's real. They've talked about it for years. It's real. It's had its involvement. There's a lot of nasty and dirty things involved in this list. It's very, very important. It has a strong element that's affecting the federal government and the government at large. But now they're in it and they're going, actually, it's not that big. Actually, there's nothing here. But you can't put that genie back in the bottle. You can't have a society where I can walk out in the middle of Brooklyn to a random construction site and talk to some random Hispanic out there, and I go, "Hey, you know who Jeffrey Epstein is?" He goes, "Oh, yes, I know." Like it is permeated to a massive level. And where do you go from there? I mean, the fact that you can't own a home, the dating market's already dog shit. I mean, it's misery upon misery, and on top of it all, everyone's just gonna go along with the idea that we're ruled by pedophiles. It's like, I don't know how. I mean, maybe in a very, very sad and lethargic world, but I do think with what you guys had said as well, this is going to lead to a hot conflict, and all it might take is a natural disaster. All it might take, like you said with Haiti, like an earthquake, all it might take is just one small thing, and it pushes the whole house of cards over. And like many people, Tim Pool included, describe, when it comes to this kind of revolution and civil conflict, it's slow, then suddenly. And next thing you know, you had a country yesterday, and now you're in a civil war tomorrow. And it's unfortunate because I obviously don't want these things to happen. I want there to be a nonviolent solution. I've been begging for a nonviolent solution, but the way that they treat this, the way they have gone about it, is almost like they are trying to slap you in the face and spit on you as much as they possibly can. And to me, that's only going to incur an extreme overreaction. And not even an overreaction, it's just going to incur an extreme justified reaction to the way that this has gone on. And I just fear what may come of that. Obviously, I think that when you have any kind of revolution or accelerationism, it's a roll of the dice. And you don't know what faction will stand on top when it's all said and done. And I think that's just fearful. And part of the reason why most people probably are hesitant to push for more solutions down that line is because ultimately, the moment you cross that line, you cross the Rubicon, there's no walking it back. You're either a criminal for life or you win a new government. It's like, so
Yep.
That's kind of where we are, and it's rather unfortunate. But any other things you wanted to talk about? I know I kind of rambled a little bit, but I do have to bounce in a couple of minutes. But I'll turn it back to you, Adam. Any other thing you wanted to bring up?
I think we covered everything. Yeah, talked about the Mark Strout thing, how I got started, and
I'm kind of
all that. Yeah. So
I'm kind of curious, Adam, based on your start. You mentioned the Mark Strout incident, but you talked about how you're a veteran on disability, and that this is kind of like a hobby that's become its own thing now. How did you hear about that case to begin with, and what kind of, I guess, was like the inciting incident that made you go, I want to look into this for real and figure this out?
Yeah, I was just browsing on Facebook, and I'm in a few of the local groups, up in that area in Western Massachusetts. And it literally, I was just scrolling my feed and it just popped out. I saw it, and then I just read it, and I was like, oh shit, I know who Mark Strout is, and yeah, and that was that. It was just someone anonymously posted it. They leaked it. Now apparently it got left with a lot of different people. And then one person anonymously leaked it online in one of those local Facebook groups. And then I just knew that nothing was ever going to happen. I know how it goes up there. I know how things go just in general. I mean, this happens nationwide. Nothing ever happens, isn't that like the saying, the phrase that goes around?
Yeah.
And that's exactly where we're at now. I mean, this was a year ago that letter got leaked, and the dude got reelected as a selectman in Dalton. He almost lost, and he tried to proclaim it as a political thing. And he said he was going to come after those of us talking about it online, criminally and civilly, which I was amongst one of those main people because I was exposing it everywhere. I started reposting that letter in the other Facebook groups that I'm a part of in that area, the local Facebook groups. But also people, they came to me and just talked to me about it. And, it just became a rabbit hole. For me, it just became a rabbit hole because I kept getting more incidents to look into. Basically, I don't want to reveal my sources, but someone came to me that was on the inside, that is no longer on the inside, that has a lot of dirt on him, on not just Mark, but also his wife, Chief Deanna Strout, and a couple other of the officers. Possibly even the DA's got some corruption going on, the current DA, because the current DA there was Mark Strout's lawyer for that case, So it just became a rabbit hole of incident after incident. And like I said, there's there's going to be eventually a whole grand expose on like everything that I know about Western Massachusetts corruption, because it's more than just the Mark Strout case. It's a lot. I mean, I probably have just gigabytes upon gigabytes of information and screenshots and various documents and stuff that I haven't even put out into the public yet, just because I'm not ready, because I'm not finished. I don't have everything that I want yet. Yep. You know, there's still some body cam footages of another incident that I'm waiting on. And I'm still trying to see if I can get the victims to give me an authorization for the state to release what the evidence is against Mark Strout. You know, I want to know what it is. Because it could be anything, you know, it could have just been a statement by one of the girls. It could be they did a rape kit. They could have some, you know, soiled panties or something with DNA on it. You know, there's so many different things that it could be. And I want to know what that DA thought that sufficient evidence was. I want to know what sufficient evidence was, you know, because I don't have that yet. But yeah, it just led into a rabbit hole that just keeps leading into more rabbit holes. That got me to where I'm at now, where I'm basically going on X and I'm, I guess, what people call juiceberging. And
yeah, right. Well, it's funny because you've probably seen that meme. You know, I think it's from. Correct me if I'm wrong, Josh. I think it's from Red 5 Jedi, where it's the Pepe frog like clicks on 9/11 and he watches a video and then he falls through the computer. And it's like, it's like flashing all of like the Mossad and the Jewish symbols and like 9/11. And it's like he wakes up.
Dancing Israelis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think
I've seen that.
A lot of people probably got read that similar way. But I'll just do rapid fire real quick. We'll do a couple questions. Well, actually 2. I'll ask both you guys. What's the over under? Will Pam Bondi be impeached over the handling of the Epstein files?
Nope.
No.
Will Donald Trump be impeached over the handling of the Epstein files?
Maybe.
If the Democrats win the midterms, I think they're going to go after him within months after winning.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I actually would say yes to both of them because we already got 218 votes for the petition to release them anyways. So I think that if you already have the 218 that voted to release them, they're probably just going to come back and vote to impeach on top of it too. Because it'd probably be the most telling thing is if you voted to release them, but then you didn't vote to impeach over the fail of the releasement, right? It would be very telling of like who is voting just to as a virtue signal rather than who actually wanted to get the documents out there. But thank you very much, Adam, for coming on. I'm going to spin it to Josh to kind of give some sign-off words. I'll spin it to you, and then I'll sign us out. And thank you very much. But here is Josh. If I can click on the right camera.
Again, Adam, thank you for joining us tonight. Go check us out. This is the NAV Network. We appreciate you guys. We've had a consistent viewership throughout the entire show. Go check out Adam's channel. He's on X, Twitter, Rumble. Go check out all of his stuff. Great stuff. I've been enjoying it over the last few days, catching up on some of his content and whatnot. Go check out Atlas Thug. You can check out my channel as well. And join us tomorrow. Me and Atlas will be doing Groyper Report, reporting on what Nick Fuentes has been up to this past week. But with that being said, I'm going to throw it back to Atlas.
I'm going to throw it back to Adam.
Oh, yeah. You can follow me on YouTube, X, and Rumble. Rumble is more set up as like a YouTube backup now. Because YouTube initially deleted that the Texas DPS visit to my house. They initially deleted it for hate speech. So yeah, I'm at Adam the Angler on YouTube. You should be Adam the Angler on Rumble. I am Adam the Angler as far as my what name you see on X, but it's at Adam the Great TV on X if you want to follow me there. So thanks.
Yes, and thank you for coming on. We appreciate that greatly. I do want to say, too, apologies for the early stream technical difficulties. I'll try to figure that out and see what it is. But until I get it figured out, we won't multi-stream Groyper Report tomorrow. I just want to make sure you don't have any more of those technical issues. But thanks, everybody who did stick around and stick it out. Obviously, we fixed it and cleaned it up around like the 20-minute mark. And as always, Christ is King. And thanks, everybody, for participating. And remember, as Josh said, we have the Groyper Report tomorrow. All of the links for Adam the Angler are in the description, so check those out. His YouTube, his X, and his Rumble are all there. Obviously, follow me. I'm the best news source out there, obviously. And thank everybody for coming in. And with that, again, Christ is King. As always, seek first the kingdom of God. Deport Kash Patel, ban Pam Bondi for public life, and God willing, we will one day save our country. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.